Welcome to A Student of Leadership, a micro-podcast where leaders are made one habit at a time. Hosted by Rob Adams, a leadership veteran with 30 years of experience, this podcast explores key concepts that define exceptional leadership. Each episode delves into a powerful word or strategy, offering practical insights and real-world stories. Whether you're just starting out or an experienced executive, join Rob as he guides you in learning, growing, and leading with purpose.
Good day, everyone, and welcome back to A Student of Leadership, powered by Unipro Food Service and our Leadership Development Program. I'm Robert Adams, your micro-podcast host, and let me start with something that might feel uncomfortable but true today. Most leaders don't struggle because they're doing the wrong things. They struggle because they're doing the right things for too long. They struggle because they're doing the right things for too long. They're struggling because they're doing the right things for too long. Yes, I repeated that 3 times. If you've ever felt stuck, frustrated, or quietly exhausted, even though you're still performing, this episode is for you. Please pull up a chair because you're at the leadership table. Food brings people together. Leadership keeps them together. Real leaders, real growth, one table. Now here's something I've seen again and again over decades of leadership work. The behavior that helps you succeed at one stage of leadership can quietly hold you back at the next. Think about it. Early on, being hands-on works. Later, it creates severe bottlenecks. Early on, being decisive builds confidence. Later, it shuts people down. Early on, working harder sets the bar. Later, it becomes unsustainable. That doesn't mean you were wrong. It means the context changed. In fact, there's a well-documented example of this from IDEO, the design firm known for innovation and collaboration. In the early days, IDEO thrived because leaders were deeply involved in every single detail. That hands-on style helped them move fast, solve problems, and build trust in small teams. But as the firm grew, something unexpected happened. That same involvement started slowing things down. Teams waited for approval. Ideas got stuck in the muck. Leaders became accidental bottlenecks. Instead of pushing harder, IDEO leaders did something smarter. They changed their behavior. They shifted from being the best problem solvers to creating space for others to solve their own problems. They asked fewer directive questions and more open ones. They stopped jumping in too quickly. They let their team struggle just enough to grow. In fact, one internal leader described it simply as saying, "I had to stop proving I was helpful and start trusting that others were capable." That shift didn't reduce performance, it unlocked it. Because here's the simple leadership lesson. Leadership habits are tools, not identities. Just because a behavior helped you succeed doesn't mean it's meant to stay forever. And growth doesn't always require adding something new. Sometimes it requires letting something go. Now, from a behavioral standpoint, this makes total sense. Our brains love habits because they reduce effort. But when conditions change and habits don't, we start operating on autopilot. That's when leaders get frustrated. Not because they're failing, but because they're outgrowing their old operating system. Marshall Goldsmith, one of the most amazing executive coaches, captured this perfectly when he said, "What got you here won't get you there." A very famous book that he wrote. Not because it was bad, but because it did its job, and now it's time for a new one. So here are a couple questions to sit with today. What leadership behavior made you successful early on? And where might you be overusing it today? What people do you rely on for that might actually be limiting their growth? Again, let me say that one more time. What do people rely on for you that might actually be limiting their growth? Now, for this week's challenge, and this one is about awareness, not action, for the next couple days, notice when you default to a familiar leadership habit. Jumping in too fast, solving instead of asking, pushing when the moment needs patience. I want you to just notice it. Don't go into judgment zone, no fixing yet, because awareness is the doorway to change. Now, if this behavior rings with you, if this episode stirred something for you, you're not alone, and you don't have to work through it by yourself. That's why we gather at the leadership table, because food gave us roots, leadership gives us purpose. Real leaders, real growth, one table. Before we wrap, as always, let me share how we stay connected throughout the week. Every Monday, the Leadership Table newsletter drops on Beehive, where we dig into leadership habits, behavior shifts, and the systems that help leaders grow with intention. On Wednesday is our Breaking Bread, a Student of Leadership newsletter, right on LinkedIn. That's where leadership meets community, story, and conversation. And on Fridays, the Mindful Leader arrives on Substack, a quieter reflection to help you slow down, reset, and reconnect. Yes, they all have different rhythms, but they have the same journey, one table. And before you go, let me leave you with this. Next time, we're going to be talking about a tiny reset that helps leaders catch themselves before old habits take over, especially in the second half of the day when your energy drops and autopilot kicks in. That's where we're heading. This is Robert Adams, your micro podcast host. Thank you for joining us. I'll see you next time at the table. Take care, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of A Student of Leadership. Leadership is about who we become and how we help others grow. If you found value in this podcast, share it with a fellow leader and connect with Rob on LinkedIn or leave a review. New episodes drop weekly, so don't forget to subscribe to stay connected. Until next time, keep learning, growing, and leading with intention. Remember, great leaders are made one habit at a time. See you next time on A Student of Leadership.